Unless Quasi makes some magic happen, whether it's a big trade, DeAndre Hopkins, for example, or signing Odell Beckham Jr., I would say part one for Minnesota's offseason is in the books, aside from more depth signings. And whenever Dalvin Cook and or Zadarius Smith gets traded, it's likely going to be for picks. I did a mock draft on this channel before free agency started. Today we're doing a post-free agency mock draft. And now that the dust has settled in part one of Minnesota's offseason, you still need help at wide receiver, defensive line, linebacker, quarterback. I would say interior offensive line, but it appears right now anyway that they're going to run it back with Ezra Cleveland, Garrett Bradbury, and Ed Ingram. The next chapter for the Vikings at this point is the draft. And my motto has been and will continue to be trade down in the first in order to get a second. Made a trade with Kansas City. In exchange for pick 23, Minnesota, they get pick 31 and 63. And with the 31st pick in this NFL mock draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Jalen Hyatt. I think in the first round, it's between wide receiver and defensive line. Kalijah Kancey is gone. No Zay Flowers. I'm a fan of Hyatt. He's taken at 31. The second pick received from Kansas City, that's 63rd overall. The Minnesota Vikings select Hendon Hooker. It's looking more and more likely that worst case scenario, he's going to go in the second round. And if Kevin O'Connell and company really like him, he can't take any chances. At pick 87, Vikings select Gervon Dexter, defensive tackle out of Florida. Listed at 6'5", 310 pounds, does all the dirty work that you want to see from a defensive lineman. Against the run, his ability to engage with blockers while moving laterally, tracking down the ball carrier at the same time was very impressive. Being 6'5", I'm sure helps with that. And he made several plays last season for the Gators where against the ball carrier, whether it's the running back or the quarterback, several plays last year where he tackles the ball carrier with one arm while being blocked at the same time. If you go receiver in the first round and you pass on or miss out on guys like Mozzie Smith or Siaka Ika in the second round, Gervon Dexter in the third, I feel like you have to take him worst case scenario. Now, with the 119th pick in this 2023 NFL mock draft, Vikings select, doubling up here on defensive line, Byron Young out of Alabama. Assuming your two lock starters based off of this mock is Gervon Dexter and Harrison Phillips, Byron Young for sure brings depth value, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's in a training camp battle versus Dean Lowry, Khyiris Tonga, Ross Blacklock, etc. for the third starting job. Byron Young in a traffic jam can blow up plays like he's the Kool-Aid man running through a wall. In space, left one-on-one versus the ball carrier, no one else around him. Feel like at times he tends to overthink things, which leads to him getting left behind. But I like his raw abilities coming into the league. At pick 158, Vikings select Nick Herbig, linebacker from Wisconsin. And lastly, pick 211, Vikings select Ricky Stromberg, interior offensive lineman from Arkansas. That's 6 players overall. I think I took 11 players in the first mock draft based off of multiple trades. Just one trade this time around. And there you have it. The Vikings post-free agency mock draft. That's Jalen Hyatt, Hendon Hooker, Gervon Dexter, Byron Young, Nick Herbig, and Ricky Stromberg. Feel free to roast me in the comments section. Comments, reading, and responses today are brought to you by Modest Brewing, located at 505 North 3rd Street in Minneapolis. 22 flavors on tap, open 7 days a week, including 2 hours before all Twins home games, damn it. If you've got a mock draft that you want to share, tweet it to me at realistic_Randy with the hashtag Modest Take. One of you will be selected at random to win a $25 gift card to Modest Brewing. Winner will be announced on Sunday via Twitter. Ryan Schultz says, maybe I'm naive to the ins and outs of a potential trade for Lamar, but why would Minnesota need to find another team to take Cousins? Wouldn't Baltimore need a viable starting quarterback if they traded Lamar? So the Vikings could trade Kirk with some picks for Lamar directly to the Ravens. I mean, in a standard contract, yes, but Kirk has a no-trade clause. He has all the power in this scenario. So if you want to trade specifically for Lamar Jackson, you have to first, because Lamar, the new money he's going to get, along with Kirk's current cap hit is going to be too much for one team. And think about how awkward that's going to be for Kirk to be on the sidelines with a headset in between series. All right, Lamar, here's what you need to work on, and this is how you can be successful the next time around. Now, if you want to trade, if you want a new immediate starting quarterback in 2023, if you're going to trade for a guy like Trey Lance, who's still on a rookie contract, it's not going to matter, but Kirk holds all the power. It's almost like the equivalent of the NBA, a player who's not really good at the end of the bench. You can't wait as a fan for the team to finally move on. But oh wait, he has a player option in the following offseason. If he chooses to exercise it, he's going to make a whole boatload of money and still be on the team. And if the player is not good, he'd be ridiculous to test free agency. So, yep, I'm going to come back for one more year, damn it. It's the same situation. Our house says, I'd rather reach for Hooker at 23 than trade up for Brooks Bollinger Volume 2. I agree. Although, if it were me, I wouldn't necessarily take Hooker at 23. I think he's going to be available in the second round. But I'll throw a bone to the Will Levis crowd and the Anthony Richardson crowd as well, even though I don't believe in those two quarterbacks at the next level. I've said this before, and it applies across the board at the quarterback position. If Kevin O'Connell and company, if they have a player that they really believe in at quarterback and he's available at pick 23, then go ahead and take your guy. Even if, in the case of Hendon Hooker, if it's a reach, go ahead and take him. Because if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And that's okay. You just wasted a first round pick. That's a different situation than trading up and mortgaging the future from pick 23 to get within the top 10. You're giving up an additional first round pick as well as a second, maybe even a third. In that situation, that quarterback, there is no room for error. He better be lights out. He better be spectacular. If he's available at 23, go ahead. But if you trade up for him, it's, all right, bro, you can't mess this up. You better be right. Lastly, Richard says, you know what they're going to do, trade up. As we get closer and closer to the draft, Richard, I think that take is becoming more and more likely. Although I'll say it right now, I'm going to put it 50-50. 50% that they trade up for a quarterback, or 50% that they'll trade down and get a second round pick. I think they're done with Kirk Cousins, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, and Kevin O'Connell. Every new regime, they want their own quarterback. Now, the 50%, the reason why I'm going to hold off just a tad bit there is because Kwesi Adofo-Mensah to me seems like a very patient man. I don't believe that he's going to rush to get a quarterback in this year's draft, specifically mortgage the future at the quarterback position because, oh my God, we have to do it right now. When in 2024, I believe there are going to be better options available. But man, I think it's 50-50. We'll see what happens.